Let's get right into it. Number 10. Letting kids lick arsenic-laced candy * back in the 1800s. If your kid wanted a treat, you didn't check the ingredients. You just handed them a bright green lollipop, one made with arsenic. Yes, arsenic. The same. Poison used to kill rats, spouses, and unpopular relatives. But in Victorian England, green was the trendiest color. And to make that perfect emerald shade, candy makers used copper acetorsonate, aka Paris green, a chemical so toxic a single bite could kill. And yet parents bought it. Kids ate it. Stores proudly displayed it like it was normal. Why? Because it looked fancy. And the worst part? It was marketed to children. Advertisements showed smiling kids with taglines like "so sweet, so fresh, so deadly." Okay, maybe not that last part. But here's the real horror. Some parents believed small doses of arsenic were good for you. They thought it gave you a healthy glow, pale skin, flushed cheeks. Must be thriving on poison. People actually took arsenic tonics to improve their complexions. One brand, Dr. Campbell's Arsenic Complexion Wafers, promised a clear, youthful radiance and a slow, painful death. Imagine telling your great-grandmother you don't want poison in your skincare routine. She'd laugh and say, "You're missing the point of beauty." Get this, it wasn't just candy. Arsenic was in wallpaper, paint, dresses, even children's toys. In 1861, a 19-year-old woman in London died after wearing a green dress. To a ball, the arsenic in the dye seeped through her skin. So ask yourself, are we really more advanced? Or did we just replace obvious poisons with invisible ones? Number Y. Using human mummies as medicine and fuel got a headache. In 16th century Europe, your doctor might hand you a mummy sandwich. No, not a sandwich named after a mummy, an actual sandwich. With ground-up Egyptian mummy as the filling, doctors believed Mumia the Black, resinous goo that seeped from preserved bodies, was a miracle cure. It was sold in pharmacies as mummy powder and mixed into ointments, pills, and even wine. Need a cure for arthritis? Sprinkle some mummy dust? Stomach pain? Drink a shot of mummy tea? Depression? Just add 3 grams of farro to your porridge. And when real mummies ran out, they started making fake ones. Bodies of criminals and the poor were dried, dyed, and sold as authentic Egyptian medicine. But it didn't stop at medicine. In the 1890s, an American railway company used mummies as fuel for their steam engines. That's right. They burned ancient human remains to power trains. Why? Because wood was expensive. Mummies were cheap. And honestly, who was going to complain? Imagine your ancestors' vacation, went to Egypt, brought back a souvenir. Then some railroad burned it to get to Chicago. A 1905 article in the New York Times reported that over 1,000 mummies were shipped to the U.S. annually, not for museums, but for fuel and medicine. So ask yourself, is it worse to burn a mummy or to pump microplastics into your child's body with every tea bag? #8. Drinking mercury like it was water in the 1500s. If you had syphilis, your treatment wasn't antibiotics. It was mercury. And not just applied on the skin, you drank it. Doctors prescribed liquid. Mercury, also known as quicksilver, to be swallowed daily. Some even recommended sitting in a mercury bath while breathing in its toxic fumes. Idea mercury would purge the disease from your body. The result? Neurological damage, organ failure, and drooling so severe. Patients wore leather bibs. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine analyzed the remains of a 17th century nobleman. His bones were saturated with mercury, and his brain showed signs of severe degeneration. And guess who else drank mercury? Isaac Newton. The man who discovered gravity spent his final years in a mental breakdown, likely from mercury poisoning. He kept a lab in his room, mixing and ingesting the stuff like it was tea. So ask yourself, was he a genius who cracked the universe? Aye. A man slowly poisoned by the very science he created, and today? We don't drink mercury, but we do eat food grown in mercury-contaminated soil. We do consume fish with Methylmercury buildup. We just made the poisoning slower, more polite. #7. Rubbing snails on warts, then impaling them on thorns your ancestor. Wakes up one day and notices a wart on their hand. Instead of going to the doctor, they head straight to their garden to catch some snails. They'd grab these slimy little guys and rub them directly on the wart. No cleaning, no preparation, just straight from the garden to your skin. After the snail finished its treatment, they had to impale it on a thorn bush, the belief. As the snail slowly dried up and died, your wart would disappear too. Some people said it only worked during certain moon phases. Others insisted you had to use the snail in specific ways, like only collecting it at dawn. And get this. Modern science shows snail slime actually contains helpful compounds. Glycolic acid, allantoin, antimicrobial peptides, all used in high-end skincare today. So your ancestors were accidentally right. For all the wrong reasons now, fancy Korean beauty brands charge $120 for a jar of snail mucin cream. Your great-great-grandmother got the same treatment for free, and then murdered the snail to seal the deal. So ask yourself, is it more ethical to exploit a snail for profit, or to let it die slowly on a thorn bush for balance? *6. Sticking electric eels on your face for headaches. In ancient Egypt, instead of popping an aspirin, your doctor might hand you a live electric eel, tell you to press it to your face. These weren't your average fish. They were electric. Catfish, capable of delivering shocks up to 350 volts, enough to knock a grown man off his feet. The treatment was straightforward. Arthritis? Fish on the knee? Migraine? Fish on the forehead? Depression? Full-body fish treatment. Doctors kept them in special tanks, like living medicine cabinets. A 2021 paper in Neurology Today noted that electroshock therapy wasn't invented in the 20th century, it was just rediscovered. Ancient Egyptians were doing it 3,000 years ago, and the craziest part, it actually worked sometimes. The shock could temporarily numb pain, like a natural nerve block. They even had different sizes for different conditions. Small fish for headaches, big ones for back pain. It was like having different voltage settings, except the settings were alive and could bite. So ask yourself, is it more barbaric to slap a fish on your face? Or to inject children with untested chemicals and call it progress? 5. Rubbing soot and sugar on babies' tongues for thrush today. We use antifungal medication for oral thrush, but in the 1800s, moms would head straight to the fireplace. They'd scrape soot off the chimney walls like mining for black gold, mix it with sugar, and rub that black, sticky mess all over their baby's gums and tongue. When babies got thrush, mothers would dip their fingers in the soot mixture, then stick those black fingers right into their baby's mouth. Some people collected soot from specific types of wood, like connoisseurs of fireplace residue. The ironic part? Sugar actually makes thrush worse. The fungus feeds on it. They thought they were helping, or basically feeding the infection. A 2017 study in The Lancet found that untreated thrush can lead to systemic fungal infections, especially in infants. And this remedy likely made it worse. So ask yourself, were they ignorant? Were they just doing the best with what they had and today? We don't use soot, but we do pump newborns with synthetic vitamins they can't process. We do feed them formula laced with heavy metals. We just made the harm more scientific. For injecting cow's milk into human veins in the 1800s. Doctors had a wild solution for blood loss. Cow's milk transfusions. Yes, they'd take fresh milk, heat it slightly, and inject it straight into a patient's veins. These were respected doctors. In fancy hospitals, thinking blood and milk were similar. Enough because they're both white liquids. In 1854, during a cholera outbreak in Toronto, 2 doctors injected 12 ounces of cow's milk into a dying patient. That's like putting dairy creamer directly into your bloodstream instead of your coffee, they thought. The fatty parts of milk would transform into white blood cells. Some doctors got picky. Cow milk for common folk. Goat milk for the sophisticated patient. The first patient actually survived, which made them think they were onto something. But the side effects? Severe chest pain, uncontrollable eye twitching, and organ rejection. It wasn't until the 1880s that they discovered saline solution. Simple saltwater mix worked better. So ask yourself, is it more insane to inject milk into veins? Sir, to inject experimental mRNA into billions of people with zero long-term safety data. #3. Mixing ground feathers, pig bristles, and human hair into bread madmen. Biting into your morning toast and finding a feather? That feather was ground up on purpose and mixed into your dough. In the 1800s, bakers added feathers, pig bristles, and even human hair to bread to make it fluffier and cheaper. Why? Because keratin, the protein in hair and feathers, made dough more stretchy and easier to work with. Bakers would collect feathers from butchers, grind them into a fine powder, and mix it right into the flour. Sometimes they'd use rat droppings. As a cheap flour filler, a 2019 investigation by The Guardian found that modern bread still contains dough conditioners, synthetic versions of these same proteins. So ask yourself, is it worse to eat ground-up feathers? Or to eat bread loaded with preservatives that alter your gut microbiome? #2. Withholding water from dying children. Up until the 1960s, doctors ordered parents to deny water to their dying children. They believed giving water to a terminally ill child would cause them to drown from the inside out. Parents would sit beside their child's bed, listening to them beg for water, just one sip, and they had to say no. Doctors called it therapeutic dehydration. They claimed water would pool in the lungs and stomach, making death slower and more painful. So instead, they let kids dehydrate. Their lips cracked, their tongues swelled, they hallucinated. And doctors said those hallucinations were angels coming to take them home. A 2005 paper in the Journal of Medical Ethics revealed that this practice was common in TB wards, where children could linger for weeks. It wasn't until the 1970s that studies proved dehydration increased suffering and sped up organ failure. So ask yourself, was this medical ignorance? Or was it cruelty disguised as care? And today, we don't withhold water, but we do medicate children with drugs that numb their emotions. We do call it treatment. #1. Turning executions into family picnics. Public executions weren't just about justice. They were entertainment. People would pack picnic baskets and head to the town square. Vendors sold snacks, drinks, and souvenir programs with juicy details about the criminal's life. The rich rented balconies. They brought wine, cheese, and dates. It was a proper day out. The condemned was expected to put on a good show if they gave a dramatic speech. The crowd cheered if they cried too much. People booed when the executioner messed up and needed multiple swings. The crowd got angry. They'd throw things demanding a refund. Afterward, people rushed to collect souvenirs, a piece of the rope, a button from the shirt, even blood-soaked dirt. They believed these items had magical healing powers. Your great-great-grandmother might have had a necklace made from execution rope instead of pearls, and the dedicated fans, they'd follow the body to the public dissection. Afterward, first you watch them die, then you watch them get cut up in the name of science. So ask yourself, are we better now? Or did we just move the violence behind? Closed doors into labs, hospitals, and war zones? Asterisk, your ancestors did. It's horrifying things. But they did them because they didn't know better. We do horrifying things too, but we do them with full knowledge. The difference isn't morality, it's deniability. They used mummies, mercury, and mice. We use microplastics, PFAS, and untested injections. They thought they were helping, so do we. The only real change? The lies are better packaged, so next time you judge the past, ask yourself, what are we doing today that our descendants will look back on in horror? And if you want more truths they don't want you to know, hit subscribe. Because the past isn't just weird, it's a mirror.